Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss about 8th standard social science history unit 1 educational development in India. Educational development in India. This is a heading of this lesson. Okay, first learning objectives. What we are going to learn. First one, know the ancient system of education in India. Second, understand the development of education in medieval and modern India. Third one, analyze the educational development during the British rule. Fourth one, discuss the importance of national education policy. Fifth one, understand the educational development in Tamil Nadu. So these are the concepts we are going to discuss in deeply. Okay. First one, introduction. Education is a continuous process of acquiring and sharing of knowledge, skills and values. Education is recognized as the foundation of a progressive society. It plays a vital role in shaping responsible people. So that is a very important duty of education. What is that? It plays a vital role in shaping responsible people. The world we live is constantly changes and developing. So, to meet the challenges and overcome the obstacles, we need to be well educated and to know the role of the education in the human development process. So, education is must. Why? Because so we meet the challenges and overcomes the obstacles. We need to be well educated. Okay, next let us learn the development of education in India through the ages. Okay, first one, education in ancient India. Education in ancient India. The historical sources provide the information that from very early times the tradition of teaching and learning had been in vogue in India. The teaching and learning, that was a tradition activity in ancient period. The concept of education might have originated from the Vedas. The concept of education that was originated from Vedas. The literal meaning, the Sanskrit word Veda is knowledge. Veda is knowledge, and the word derived from the word vid, which means to know. Our ancient education system evolved over many centuries and focused on the holistic development of the individual by taking care of both the innate and latent capacities. What is the use of education? To improve the innate and latent capacity, to develop the capacity of the people. It emphasized on values such as humility, truthfulness, discipline, self-reliance and respect for all creations. So these are the important characters built by the education. Next, sources of learning. Sources of learning. You must have heard the names of Panini, Aryabhatta, Kadayana and Patanjali. So these were the important personalities and their writings and the medical treatise of Charaka and Sushruta were also some of the sources of learning. Various disciplines such as history, logic, interpretation, architecture, polity, agriculture, trade, commerce, animal husbandry and archery were taught. So these were the important subjects were taught. Physical education too was an important curricular area and pupils participate in games and recreational activities. The students must participate in the extracurricular activities. The Guru and their students worked consciously together to become proficient in all aspects of learning. Students were very truthful to the Guru. In order to assess students, that means to know about the students or to know the level of the students, skills, literary debates were organized. The literary debates were organized to know about the skills of the students. Students at an advanced stage of learning guided younger students. They were the guide to the young students. A system of peer learning was also practiced, like you have Guru per week work. Okay students, next topic is ancient education system in India. Ancient education system in India, a way of life. Okay, a way of life. Gurukula system. In ancient India, both formal and informal education exists. Two types of education, formal and informal education system was exist. Indigenous education was imparted at home in temples, padasalas and gurukulas. So these were the different types of education centers. They were people in home, villages and temples who guided young children in imbibing pious way of life. The elders were the guidance to the young people. Temples played a vital role in imparting education and served the centers of learning. Temples were the learning centers in those days. Students went to viharas and universities for higher studies. The higher study centers were viharas and universities. Teachings was oral and students remembered and meditated upon what was taught in the gurukulas. The meditation system was practiced. Many of these gurukulas were named after the sages. Situated in forest and peaceful surrounding, hundreds of students used to learn together in gurukulas. More than hundreds of students were gathered and learned in gurukulas. During early period, education was imparted by the teacher, guru or acharya, to the people who gathered around him and came to live in his house as members of his family. So that is Gurukula system. The people was gathered around him and came to live in his house as member of his family. This was known as Gurukula system of education. The family of Guru functioned as a domestic school or an ashram. So that was a one type of education. During that period, the gurus and their sishyas, that means students, lived together helping each other in day-to-day life. The main objective was to have complete learning, leading a disciplined life and realizing one inner potential. The student should analyze their inner potential. That is must. Students lived away from their homes for years together till they achieved their goal, what they learned. Next, the Gurukula was also the place where the relationship between the Guru and student strengthened with time. That was a strong relationship. The Gurukulas made the strong relationship between the Guru and the students. Many monasteries and viharas were set up for monks and nuns to meditate, debate and discuss with the learned for their quest for knowledge during this period. Around these viharas, other educational centers of higher learning developed, which attract students from China, Korea, Tibet, Burma, Ceylon, Java, Nepal and other distant countries. So this system was very much attract the foreign students from various part of the world. Next, Viharas and universities. Buddhist period. Viharas and universities, these were the higher educational centers. The Jataka accounts given by Xuanzang and Hastings, Chinese scholars, they were the Chinese scholars, and other sources tells us the kings and society took an active interest in promoting education. These were the sources clearly tells about the activities of the king and society very much actively interested in promoting the education. Through monasteries and viharas, Buddhist scholars carried out the educational work. As a result, many famous educational centers came into existence. Among the most notable universities, so these were the important, very important notable universities. What were that? Taxila, Nalanda, Vallabhi, Vikramasila, Odandaipuri and Jagatala. These were the very important and famous universities in those days. These universities developed in connecting with the viharas. Those at Banaras and Kanchi developed in relation with temples and became centers of community life in the place where they were situated. These institutions catered to the needs of advanced level students. Such students joined the centers of higher learning and developed their knowledge by mutual discussion and debates with renowned scholars. Not only that, there was also occasional summoning by king to a gathering in which the scholars of the various viharas and universities would meet, debate and exchange their views. So some of the places were very much help to the scholars to discuss and to make their debates and exchange their views in some of the important places. Okay, next topic is role of the teacher. Next topic is role of the teacher. Teachers had complete autonomy in all aspects, from selection of students to designing their syllabi. The teachers, that was a most important role of the teachers to select the student and frame the syllabus. When the teacher was satisfied with the performance of the student, the course concluded. When the teacher was satisfied with the performance of the students, the course was concluded. He would admit as many students as he liked and thought was his students were keen to learn. Debate and discussion were the primary method of teaching. That was a primary method. What was that? Debate and discussion was the primary method of teaching. Teachers were assisted by their advanced level students. The advanced level students, they are ready to help to the teachers. Next, education in medieval India. Education in medieval India. Medieval period witnessed a radical transformation with introduction of Muslim education in the Indian subcontinent. The next arrival of Muslim education in India. The country was invaded by various foreign rulers and several traders from different parts of the world. India was invaded by foreign rulers as well as the foreign traders. The tradesmen and the invaders brought with them their own culture and intermingled with the people of their country. Besides, religion, society and culture education in medieval India also experienced a new perspective. The aim of the education during Muslim period, what was the aim? Was the illumination and extension of knowledge. That was a main aim of the education of Muslim period. What was this? Illumination and extension of knowledge. In the 11th century, the Muslim rulers established elementary and secondary schools. Elementary and secondary schools was established in the 11th century. Education developed with the fresh aspects during that period, as there was an excellent interaction between Indian and Islamic traditions in all fields of knowledge like theology, religion, philosophy, fine arts, painting, architecture, mathematics, medicine and astronomy. The Indian Islamic tradition, there was an excellent interaction in these fields. However, before the arrival of the Muslims in India, a developed system of education was already in place. Muslim rulers promoted urban education by bestowing libraries and literary society. They founded primary schools in which students learnt reading, writing and basic Islamic prayers. That was a standard of primary schools. Reading, writing and basic Islamic prayers they must learn. And secondary schools, madrasas, were established to teach advanced language skills. Several madrasas were set up by the sultans and nobles. The main objective of these madrasas was to train and educate the scholars who would become eligible for the civil service. What was the main aim of the madrasa schools? The students train and educate the scholars who should become eligible for the civil service. Iltutmish was the first ruler to establish a madrasa at Delhi during his rule. He was the first ruler. Who was that? Iltutmish was the first ruler. Established the madrasa school at Delhi. The system of education in medieval India was under the control of ulemas. Ulemas were the religious leaders. The education system was controlled by ulemas. During these days, education was related to religious training. However, various subjects such as medicine, Arabic literature, grammar and philosophy were also taught. So these were the subjects also taught. History states that Arab and Central Asian people brought Muslim education models to the India, both the medieval and early modern period. Women education in India was prevalent during the medieval period. During the time of Muslims and the medieval period, the women education was prevalent. Raja Jai Singh of Jaipur encouraged learning of scientific subjects. Besides, many institutions were started by private individuals as well. Madrasa of Qiazuddin in Delhi and the Madrasa of Maulana Sadruddin Shahjahanabad. In the later medieval era, the British came to India and introduced English education. English education was introduced by British. With the coming of European missionaries, Western education made firm advance in the country. Missionaries, European missionaries means religious preachers. Various universities and thousands of colleges were formed and the popularity of education increased. So various universities and colleges were established after the arrival of European missionaries. Missionaries means religious preachers. Okay students, next we are going to discuss about modern system of education in India. Modern system of education in India. The beginning of the modern system of Indian education can be traced to the efforts of the Christian missionaries. Christian missionaries means religious preachers who arrived in India in the wake of European occupation. As a result of their efforts, many institutions were established across India. These institutions imparted Western as well as Indian education. These educational institutions provided Western and Indian education to the people. Next, role of Christian missionaries. Role of Christian missionaries. Europeans came to India for trade and established trading companies. They acquired lands and constructed fortresses. Later, they wanted to spread their culture and religion among the Indians. They want to spread their culture and religion among the Indians. The Europeans thought that they could make Indians understand the administration and religious theories better if they could impart education to the local population in their own method. They want to spread their culture and religion to the Indians. That's why they want to introduce the local languages to preach the education and the religion. So they started educational institutions. The Portuguese were the first Europeans who started modern system of education in India. They were the first people started the modern education system. Francis Xavier, a Jesuit, started a university at Cochin. They started many primary schools. The first college offering degrees on a completion of a courses was started in Goa in 1575, where Christianity, logic, grammar and music were taught. John Crander was one of the most zealous pioneers and was perhaps the first missionary in India to introduce education for non-Christian children as an evangelic agency. In 1812, Dr. C.S. John established 20 free reading schools in Trangubar. In 1812, Dr. C.S. John established 20 free reading schools in Trangubar. Followed by the Portuguese, the French opened their institutions for all Indians where education was imparted by Indian teachers through local languages. The Europeans utilized the Indian people to teach to the Indians in local languages. They started higher secondary schools where French language was taught. In higher secondary schools, the French language was taught. Two German bishops named Ziegenbalg and Fluchow started schools and training colleges for teachers in Travancore. The training colleges for teachers. After the arrival of English East India Company in 1600 AD, institutions were established for imparting instruction in English. The English education was arrived after the arrival of English. Gradually, Sanskrit college were opened in Madras and Benares. The Sanskrit college was opened in two places, in Madras and Benares. The first bishop of Calcutta, the Revered Dr. Middleton, started a missionary college at Calcutta which became famous as the Bishop's College. Mount Stuart Elphinstone was actually a strong advocate of vernacular education. Vernacular education means local education. Mount Stuart Elphinstone was actually a strong advocate of vernacular education, but on his retirement in 1827, his admirers collected funds and established a college offering English classes named the Elphinstone College at Bombay. missionaries made a good deal of attempt for the propagation of education in India. Due to their efforts, many institutions were established. These institutions imparted Western education and as well as Indian education. So after the arrival of Europeans, especially the Christian missionaries, lot of educational institutions were established and spread the culture and religion of Europe and as well as the India. Okay students, today the class is over. So next remaining topics we will discuss in the next class. Okay, thank you. Revise well.